You ever have one of those moments where you think you know exactly where Doctor Who is headed? And then they pull the rug out from under you so hard, you're left wondering if the TARDIS just landed in an alternate universe. Yeah, that's exactly where we are today. And trust me, this isn't just a little production update or a cheeky casting rumor. This is the kind of news that could shift the entire future of the Whoniverse forever. Because today, we're talking about Russell T Davies dropping hints that sound less like teases and more like warnings. Billie Piper having conversations that feel more like plans. And somewhere in all of this, a past Doctor quietly positioning himself for a return that nobody, and I mean nobody, saw coming. But before we dive in, I have to ask you, what's your limit? How far can a show you love change before you don't recognize it anymore? Seriously, I want you to hold on to your answer, because by the end of this, you might need to re-evaluate it. So here's the setup. We're at that strange moment in the life of a long-running franchise where it's both celebrating its legacy and panicking about its future. The old guard is circling back. The fan favorites are, well, unofficially, official again. And the current showrunner? He's acting like a chess player who's 10 moves ahead, smiling as the rest of us are still trying to figure out why the board looks different. Now, I know what you're thinking. James, this is just RTD doing RTD things. He always throws curveballs. And normally I'd agree. But here's the difference this time. There's too much happening all at once. Too many pieces moving together. This isn't chaos. This feels like design. And in that design, Billie Piper's name keeps coming up. Not just in nostalgic interviews or anniversary retrospectives, but in private industry talks, cryptic posts, and conversations with cast members who absolutely should not be talking to her unless something's brewing. When you start connecting the dots, it paints a picture that's unsettling, in a good way. Or maybe in a bad way. I honestly can't decide yet. And then there's Matt Smith. Oh, Matt Smith? I'm not even going to touch the specifics yet, because the second I do, the spoiler alarms will start blaring in your head. But let's just say his latest career move. It doesn't just free him up. It positions him in a way that could change the dynamics of everything RTD's building. Here's where I'm going to stop and make my one big request. Because if you've been here before, you know I don't do this every 2 minutes like some channels. If you want to keep getting these deep dives, where we pull apart the official story and dig into the real one, the version they don't want in the press releases, then hit that subscribe button right now. Because what's coming next is the kind of stuff that can vanish from the internet real fast when the BBC decides it's too speculative. Now, I need you to think about this. How often in Doctor Who history do we see a perfect storm of legacy actors, creative power moves, and behind the scenes partnerships all converging at the same moment? Exactly. Almost never. Which is why this update isn't just cool, it's critical. Because it's not just about who's coming back, it's about why. And when you hear the whispers about what Billie and RTD were overheard discussing, and who else was in the room, you're going to realize this isn't nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. This is targeted, surgical, a carefully engineered moment designed to send Doctor Who down a path it has never gone before. And maybe, just maybe, that's not entirely a good thing. So, let's talk about that meeting. The one no outlet has fully reported on yet, because the people who know about it are either bound by NDAs, or terrified of losing access to RTD's inner circle. Picture this: a private suite in a mid-tier London hotel, just far enough from BBC Television Centre to avoid curious eyes, but close enough that you could get there in under 15 minutes if needed. No cameras. No press. Just 3 people and a laptop loaded with concept art that will almost certainly never leak. Russell T Davies was there. Billie Piper was there. And the third person. Well, that's where things get really interesting. Because this wasn't a BBC executive, or a casting director, or even a writer. It was someone you'd only expect to see in the room if something very specific was happening. A producer with a history of building shared universes. This meeting was not about one episode. This was about structural change. Expanding the Whoniverse in a way that isn't just, here's another spin-off. but something far more interconnected. And Billie wasn't there to reminisce about 2005. She was there to talk plotlines, future arcs, potential, event, seasons. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, because according to one source who got a partial summary, RTD didn't just want Piper back for a role. He wanted her back for a position. In other words, a recurring, multi-series character that could anchor other projects and potentially lead the show in directions even long-time fans wouldn't see coming. And this is where that third person comes in. Because their past work includes franchise pivots, where legacy characters were reintroduced, not just to boost ratings, but to subtly replace the central figure audiences were used to. If that's ringing alarm bells for you, good. It should. And while this is brewing, Matt Smith is making moves of his own. His departure from one high-profile streaming series was quietly followed by a shift in his public schedule. Suddenly, he's popping up at conventions again, signing more Doctor Who memorabilia, and taking interview questions he used to dodge. That's not just nostalgia. That's positioning. One industry contact described it to me like this: if you think Matt's out of the Whoniverse, you're wrong. If you think Billie's back just for fan service, you're really wrong. They're both in play, and the game is bigger than you think. Now here's the wild card. The unexpected team up I teased earlier. Because while everyone's busy talking about potential Billie, Matt on-screen reunions, there's a quieter connection forming between Piper and another figure entirely. Someone outside the Doctor Who ecosystem who has the kind of audience reach that could pull in millions of viewers who haven't touched the show in years. If you know RTD's style, you know he loves cross-pollination, bringing unexpected worlds together. And the deeper I dig, the more it feels like we're on the edge of something that isn't just Series 16 news. This feels like the prologue to the next era. One where the Doctor isn't necessarily the only hero of the story, and where certain companions start to feel more like co-leads. If that sounds risky to you, you're not alone. A couple of the old guard have already voiced their concerns privately, one even calling it the Marvel-ification of Doctor Who. And if that phrase doesn't make you a little nervous, you might want to rewatch the last few seasons of any franchise that went down that road.